Thank you very much. Well, on behalf of the governing board, thank you for being here this evening. My name is Steve Hyland, and I am with the Arizona School Boards Association. The Arizona School Boards Association is a nonprofit organization that works for the districts of Arizona. We represent over 240 districts, and we do a number of things with districts. We do legislative work, we do legal conferences, we do executive searches, and we do policy work for the districts. We do not have any authority over districts. People think because of our name maybe we're part of a state agency or not, but we are not. We have, like I say, we have no authority over the district, and in all cases where we're doing the search, we want to make it clear that the Arizona School Boards Association does not recommend a candidate. We do background work, we bring candidates together, we coordinate the effort, and we work with the board so they make the decision that's right for your district. On behalf of the board, again, thank you. I'd like the board to stand. Give them a round of applause. I'd like to say this is my first opportunity to work with your board, and they've done a stellar job throughout this process, and I thank them for that. I'd also like to thank Linda Jeffries. I think she's out in the foyer. She helped put together with her group the, Linda, say hi. She put together this event this evening and helped, I appreciate that. Also the people that are working the technology and, of course, food service, because that's important, isn't it? Okay, so what is the process tonight? You all received a different color card. The reason they're different colors is because we want to be able to distinguish student from staff from community, because we want to have a good mixture of questions when they come up. If you have one of these and are filling it out now, or the question comes to mind as we work through the evening, go ahead and set them up on the table here. I would tell you, whether it's 30 people that we have in an audience like this or 300, we never get through all the questions because there just isn't time. We'll dedicate about an hour to the questions. When we run to the end of that hour, then the candidates will come and mingle with you. There's the refreshments and such. That's your time to come up to candidates and say hi, introduce yourself, ask that question maybe to a candidate that you didn't get to ask, or maybe they said something during the process of the evening where you want to get clarification. That's your time, and they'll be here as long as you want to stay. I have one yellow card. That means I have one student card. I think that's neat when a student asks a question. Being a teacher at one point, I think that's very neat. What I'm going to ask the candidates to do initially is to introduce themselves. And since we only have one student card, I'm going to ask them to respond to this student card when they introduce themselves. The student writes, how often would you visit schools? So students would know you. I think it's important for students to know their superintendent. I would agree with that. So gentlemen, I would ask you to answer that question as you introduce yourself. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for having me here in your district. My name is Jim Bogner. I am currently the Assistant Superintendent in the Creighton School District, which is just a little bit east of here. I've been in Creighton for the last 25 years. I am the third of 6 children born to a working class family in Detroit. I'm a product of the Detroit Public Schools, graduated from Wayne State University in the heart of Detroit. Spent most of my time during middle school and high school and college doing janitorial work for my father. Since that time, I came out in 1983 from Detroit to Phoenix, actually Lake Havasu, where I taught for approximately 6 years. Spent a little bit of time in about a year and a half in a suburban district, Paradise Valley, working with the special education departments at all of the high schools. And since that time, I've spent most of the rest of my career working in curriculum instruction and assessment. I currently supervise food service, transportation, physical plant services, curriculum instruction assessment, federal programs, and jointly supervised finance and human resources. As far as, the other thing is I received both my master's degree and doctorate from Arizona State. The other thing is that as far as the student question, where's the student that asked that question? Can you raise your hand? There he is. Okay, I met you in the restroom earlier. And Mom, he was washing his hands too. I think that it's critical for the superintendent to be out at the schools as often as possible. Learning takes place in classrooms between teachers and students. And the work that we do as administrators has to be focused in on what happens in those classrooms. If the work we do strives to improve what happens in those classrooms, then we're doing our jobs. And so as far as frequency, I'd like to say I'd be out there every month, but I would like, it's more likely that it would be every 4 to 6 weeks. Does that, to get to every school, because there's 15 of them and it takes a while to get around and to get into classrooms. Does that answer your question? Thank you, sir, for the question.
Good evening. I thought I was doing okay, and as I went to stand up, my knees buckled a little bit. You'll have to bear with me. Good evening. My name is Michael Robert. I am currently principal of Encanto Elementary School in the Osborn School District. This is my 21st, the end of my 21st year in elementary education. I have taught for more years than I've been an administrator. I taught for 12 years. In those 12 years, I started off as a 2nd and 3rd grade Spanish dual language teacher. Following in my sister's footsteps, my brother's footsteps, they were both bilingual educators in the Los Angeles area. I quickly moved out of 2nd and 3rd grade and found what was going to be my most comfortable home for most of my teaching career, and that was in 1st grade. There's nothing that gives me greater joy in life than working with a 6-year-old on that discovery, that passage to reading, becoming a reader, a writer, being able to express himself, being a literate, articulate member of our community. It is a passion of mine, and part of the reason that I spent 11 of my 12 years in teaching 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grades. I made a transition somewhere in the middle of those teaching years and became trained as a Montessori elementary teacher. And so I had the experience in working with multiple ages. So, a few of those years were teaching 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade all together. My 12th and final year of teaching was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade as a combination class. From there, I went on, was an assistant principal at a K-8 school for 1 year, and have spent the past 8 years having the privilege of working at a K-3 school. Very familiar dynamic to what you have here in your district with the different configurations. It's been a pleasure of mine to work with my staff and with a sister school right next door, looking at that whole articulation process, making sure that the work that we're doing at a K-3 school translates to the work that our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders are doing. We're part of not just individual schools, we're part of greater communities, and so I feel that I can bring that to your community that has very similar situations. It was very hard for me to make the move from the classroom to the principal's office. I didn't want to give up that opportunity to keep teaching. And I told myself the only way that I can stay connected to the real work of schools is to be in classrooms. And so I've made it my dedication to be in classrooms on a daily basis. As a superintendent, it would be even harder for me to make that move, now not only not in a classroom, but not in a school. And so I can't let that happen. I feel a need to be in schools and be in schools often. I want to be able to speak to staff, speak to the community, and the only reason that the only way that I will be able to do that is by having a real account of what's happening in classrooms, and that's by being present. I bring experience as a teacher, and I bring that perspective. I'm still a teacher. I don't talk about myself as an administrator. I'm a teacher. I love the opportunity of being back in classrooms, working side by side with my 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade teachers right now. As I mentioned earlier today, the district office doesn't have any children there. The work that happens within school districts happens because of what happens at schools. So in answer to your question, young man, I would need to be at schools as often as possible because that's where the work of a district happens. I look forward to having the opportunity to continue sharing my experiences with you, learning more about you, and seeing ways that we can work together in this community. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Jeff Sprout, and I actually started here in 1992 in the Alhambra School District, back when we used swamp coolers to kind of cool our rooms, and I think we had 3 computers on our entire campus. I spent 10 years at Alhambra Traditional School teaching science, and then moved to Barcelona Middle School for 1.5 years as the intervention specialist. For 8.5 years, I was a principal at Montebello School, and then for 1 year, I was a director of STEM research and development here in the district. I've been, for the last 2 years, working in the Laveen Elementary School District as, and currently working there as the executive director of human resources. Something else I want you to know about me is how much I care for and love this school district. This district has an incredible legacy and an incredible future of building futures in this community. This district has built futures for students. By working with families and community partners, we've built futures for families. I can personally attest to the fact that this district builds staff as well, and builds their futures, and celebrates their accomplishments. And of course, you can't help but want to get involved if you're a community member or a business partner in this district. It is truly an honor to be here tonight. I also look forward to your questions. And could I get your name real quick, please?
Sergio.
I'm sorry?
Sergio.
So Sergio, first of all, I love school lunches, and you need to know that. And on Mondays, it used to be burritos and tater tots, and I fully expect to be eating lunch at a minimum quite frequently out at the schools and interacting with students and staff in that way. I also agree that it is very important for students in this district to know their superintendent, and that we have a relationship. I will be there to celebrate your accomplishments with you, and I will be there to watch you working. And so I very, very much look forward to that. Like as previously said, I truly enjoy being out at the school and watching the great work of our staff and the accomplishments of our students. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes. My name is Mark Yslas, and I come from a very small town in Arizona. It's called Hayden, Arizona. Does anybody know where Hayden, Arizona is? Raise your hand. It is a small copper mining town near Globe in Miami, Superior, Arizona. And I mention where I come from because throughout the evening you're going to hear us answer some questions, and you're going to get to know a little bit about our experiences. But it's really important that you understand who we are and why we value what we value. I'm a son of a copper miner. My dad was a copper miner for 30, 40 years. He was a big union guy, you know, first one out, last one in type of guy. And my mom was a teacher's aide for about 25 years. And I got my value, or I learned about the value of education actually through my mom. My mom was deaf. But back then, she's 75 years old, they didn't know that she was deaf. They just thought that she was this little girl that couldn't speak English, and she wouldn't listen, so they just put her in the back room. So my mom taught herself how to read. She taught herself math. And by the end of her career, actually by the end of high school, she graduated from high school. And if you know these little copper mining towns, you know it's a big deal when somebody leaves a copper mining town and they go off to school. We are so proud of my mom because she left Hayden, went to Tucson, got her beautician license. I think that's what they called it back then. It might be cosmetology license now, but she got her beautician's license, came back to Hayden, opened up a little shop, and started cutting hair, doing nails, and doing that for the beautiful ladies in Hayden. I'm so proud of them. And I have 3 older sisters. And yes, they made me do all the stuff that 3 older sisters do to a kid. And they are all professionals, engineers. They work in IT. I really value who they are. And I have, my wife is a educator in the Mesa School District. She runs the school. She's a principal of Eisenhower Center for Innovation. So we all have a value in my family about education. And the last thing I want to tell you about myself is I have 42 kids. Well, you guys should say, home? What I mean by that is I actually have 2 biological kids. My son Mateo's in college, and I have a son Marcos who's in 6th grade in Creighton School District. But my wife and I have fostered over 40 children. Over 40 kids have come to our house over 5 years, and we've taken care of students from every nationality, every race, every background, every socioeconomic status. Kids with special needs, kids that could not speak English. And that's why I want to come back to the elementary schools. Most of my career has been in elementary. Right now I'm currently the principal of Tempe High School. I'm very proud of that. But 16 of my years in education, I've been in this 25 years, have been in an elementary school, in Creighton School District. I used to work with Jim Bogner. I worked in Isaac. I worked at Phoenix Elementary. I started my teaching career out at Pendergast. So I'm an elementary guy that wants to come back to some of the communities that I have served before. It's really important that we all do this together, and I feel at home. As corny as that sounds, I feel like I'm in the right place. Now let me get to Sergio's question. Can I call you Sergio, or do you want me to call you Sergio? Either way? All right. Sergio has asked a question that it couldn't be more tailor-made for me. I don't know how to be at the district office. I was a superintendent, I was an assistant superintendent, and I worked with budgets and building schools and working in curriculum, and I've done everything that needs to come out of the district office. I know how to be a superintendent, I think. But I really, really know, and I really like schools. I think I'm gonna have a problem with people at district office finding me and saying, "Where's Mark?" And I'm gonna be at the schools. You know, I'm gonna do something like this. Check this out. What do you see there? Who's that? Yeah, these are Captain America socks. They're actually my good luck socks. That's why I wore them today. But I'm gonna be hanging out with the kids. I'm gonna be shooting hoop with Sergio. I'm gonna be meeting with the teachers. I don't know anything else but schools. I've been a principal of a K-5 school. I've been a principal of a K-8 school. I've been a principal of a middle school. I'm one of the few people that you will meet that understands education from K through 12. Thank you.